Of the financial earthquake which is still reverberating around the world was the fall of Northern Rock, a story broken by the BBC's business editor Robert Preston back in 2007. It seems like centuries ago now. Well, there are many people in Newcastle, the home of Northern Rock, who still want to shoot the messenger, believing that he, Robert Preston, was in fact a harbinger of doom. So, having faced the Treasury Select Committee questioning about how far the media affected as well as reported upon the financial crisis, Robert Preston's next stop was Newcastle to face his critics there. This is what happened.
I'm sorry you blame me rather than the management and the regulators and the government. That's how it is.
Well, we've got security guards, so there shouldn't be any trouble from that point of view.
Tell me, is my tie straight, my hair look all right?
Do a pose.
My mum thinks you're like a modern day Mr. Darcy. What does that
I have this tendency, you probably noticed it, to ramble on a bit. I looked at the news channels, but that is just, one of my many weaknesses.
It did occur to me that it would be a really good idea to actually go up and meet some of the people who were quite critical of me more than a year ago when I disclosed that Northern Rock, the local bank, was in serious difficulties.
You're my human shield, Jeremy.
I'm his human shield, he said.
I was keen to know if they still think that somehow I was wrong to disclose the problems that Northern Rock got itself into. And I also was keen to get a feeling for what impact the collapse of Northern Rock, the nationalisation of Northern Rock had had on the local economy, and also in general how the local economy is performing.
I've got an extraordinary exclusive story.
Northern Rock has been one of the fastest growing British banks. What I try and do is I try and get the facts out there. I think that, the facts speak for themselves, and it's the facts that are the economic reality.
It's become the first bank in years to seek emergency funding from the Bank of England in its role as lender of last resort.
I love being a journalist. I've been a journalist for 25 years. Okay, what matters for me is the message, not the messenger. Look, is that snow? Yeah, it is. Oh, God.
The man who broke the story on the crisis at Northern Rock is in the northeast to face his critics. A special report.
Great to see you. Thank you so much for doing this. I feel embarrassed entering your home. That's really kind of you. If you've got information that's in the public interest for people to know, you've got to put it out. Put it in the public domain.
So would it have been impossible for you to have spoken to the contacts which you had at the government to see whether you could release this in a way in which it wouldn't create the kind of hysteria which it did create, rather than just going out with the story by yourself? When you say that you didn't know the government were going to say anything about it.
You can't, again, that would get, if you're a journalist, you can't get into negotiations with anybody about, how you present a story.
But because if it was wholly public interest based, then surely, and wasn't for, the benefit of your own journalistic, career, then it wouldn't be about breaking the story yourself. It would be just making sure that the information was provided to the public in a sense which wouldn't create what went on to be the run on the banks.
But I think that's to misunderstand, in a sense, my role in this. I absolutely believe that my broadcast made absolutely no difference to where Northern Rock ended up. I was surprised when I was rung up the next day. I was at home, and a colleague of mine said, "Turn on the TV," and I turned on the TV, and there were these pictures of people queuing to get their money out, and I was surprised by that. I'll be frank.
I'm paying a price, Here it is. I'm freezing the bloody death up here.
Well, I suppose he hasn't actually been in the region since that moment. But the very fact that he reported Northern Rock's crisis ahead of really a bailout of it led it to freefall, led it to those terrible pictures of queues outside the branches, which basically led to a North East success story falling into flames. So there are people who are going to be angry about that. There are other people who feel that he revels in bad economic news, that he has a sort of enthusiasm for it that puts them off. And when jobs are on the line, when people's livelihoods are at stake, they find that a little bit uncomfortable.
I'm Dennis Shannon, and I worked at Northern Rock for just about 20 years, and during that time I joined the various share save schemes and built up a fair amount of shares, which I divided between my wife and myself. And the shares were sort of to supplement my small retirement, really. So that sort of disappeared quite quickly when Robert Preston broke the news in September 2007.
Hello, ladies and gents. Can you take the next group of people through, please? So, Peter Howe, Sarah Green, Doreen and Dennis Shannon.
But I would like to ask him whether he actually sort of suspected there may possibly be a bank run.
How are you? All right, you okay? I'm good.
I don't think that what we did, what I did, what the BBC did, caused the run. But even if you believe that we did cause the run, I don't myself think that the run, the retail run, made any difference, I'm afraid, to what happened to the bank and, sadly, to the value of your investment.
It happened to be the first, and it happened to be the North East Bank, and therefore everybody treated it differently. Everybody treated it... The media put the knives in and destroyed the reputation. The reputation thus being destroyed, nobody would lend to it. The government saw it as an opportunity and took it from the shareholders. Now, to me, it's like, if somebody's in trouble and they fall down, the Good Samaritan story. You can help them up, or you can kick them in the balls and steal their watch. That's what happened to us. Somebody stole our watch when we were down and out and we needed help.
Just bring in...
You can edit that if you wish.
I hope they don't. I hope they don't.
Thank you, Doreen. No, heartfelt. It's very passionate indeed.
People are looking for reasons why it happened. There are lots of reasons. I mean, I can't remember whether I said this in the conversation before. It didn't help that Northern Rock didn't put out the information in a clear way. It didn't help that they had not enough capacity in the website. When people went online, they couldn't get through. It didn't help.
I question that, Robert. I would say that did help, because, and this is what I expected you to understand as a business editor, that with internet banking, telephone banking, a bank could be wiped out within hours.
Exactly. It's all about confidence. Yeah. It's all about confidence. Why did people lose confidence? Because they couldn't get onto the website.
Not at all. It was because of what you were presenting and the way you presented it. And you didn't understand the psychology of the British people. When you tell them don't panic, what you were planting in their minds and the images that the television was showing, it's been mentioned, every 5 minutes news reporting of queues outside branches.
Look, I'm not going to persuade you. I can tell that I behaved responsibly. I did think I did behave responsibly, and I genuinely have reviewed it many, many times. But let's sort of move on from that for a second. You can't help but be upset when you see somebody, in the case of Doreen, who, is really shattered by the experience of losing their little nest egg, but also her husband. He's that sort of living manifestation of this great paradox that we're all living through. That people who've done the right thing, who haven't borrowed too much, who've got savings in the bank, they are in a sense being punished to bail out those who borrowed too much. He's in a sense a sort of, living, breathing example of the unfairness of the solution to the economic mess we're in. Listen, it's great to meet you. Obviously, on a personal level, of course, I completely understand why you're furious in general. Yeah, turn it off. I'm going to turn it off. Very good.